Thanks for tuning in to the Proline Handicapping Show on the web. Coming up, the Jazz and Bulls in Saturday's NBA, plus Indiana takes on UConn, and Oklahoma State battles Texas A&M in college basketball, and then the Patriots versus the Colts in the AFC Championship game. But first, let's hear from our Proline panelists as they break down last week's playoff action.
Welcome back. What a great week in pro football. I mean, 4 awesome games. And surprisingly, all 4 road teams covered the spread. That made some of the books happy, and of course some of the players, like right here on this set, happy as well. Marty Schottenheimer, arguably the best team in football this year, favored to go to the Super Bowl, favored to win the Super Bowl. Second favorite would have been Baltimore. Both of those clubs are out. Baltimore didn't even show up. No. I mean, that was the one game that really wasn't competitive. They were completely out of the game, even though the other team didn't really score that many points. It just was obvious they could not move the football.
It was a very bizarre weekend in a lot of ways, but one of the most entertaining weekends you'll ever see. I mean, the Colts-Ravens game was not tremendously exciting, but the other 3 games sure were.
They were.
And, I don't know whether it's bad luck or, well, I think a little bit of bad decision-making thrown in, but Marty just cannot win that game. Because San Diego, look, the Patriots did not win this game. The Chargers lost this football game.
They were basically they lost the game. The Patriots were benefactors.
It was just extraordinary to me.
Except for Brady. I mean, in the fourth quarter,
you give him enough chances, he's going to finally do it.
Give him enough chance, right? It's just they could have put the game away. They made a lot of mistakes.
Boy, they did, and just one blunder after another. Mental mistakes by the team on the field. The ill-advised challenge. Where did that come from? After the turnover that never should have happened. That Troy Brown basically got involved in for the Patriots. It's amazing how many big plays Troy Brown has been involved in over the years for that football team. That was a really bad decision by Marty that may have, who knows, may have cost him a shot to get to overtime. But I think a lot of bad luck got involved in this as well for Schottenheimer. I mean, the team had a great game plan. Their game plan worked to near perfection. They just managed to screw it up anyway.
Yeah, I mean, every little mistake you could make. I mean, Marty's a great coach. He's got a great record in regular season. But when you go into the playoffs 18 times and you win 5, and some of those times he had the best team, some of those times he had home field advantage, he still comes out a loser. There's something wrong with their preparation or getting the teams motivated or getting them to the field confident so they don't make those kind of – they go in too tight. What is it? It has to be something to do with the coaching.
He had the best team, I thought, in the league several years ago when Kansas City was in the AFC Championship, the Gerbach-Gannon deal, where he took one guy out who got him there, which was Gannon, and brought in Gerbach, who came back from an injury, and the offense had no cohesiveness, and they lost again. In this particular game, though, I think this is another media thing. Let's jump on Schottenheimer, let's beat him up. Well, for his career, yeah, but for this game, no. First of all, they had an 8-point lead with 6 minutes to go. On 4th down, knock the freaking ball down. You don't have to pick it off. But you did. That's fine. Now cover it up. You got the game won almost with 6 minutes to go and an 8-point lead, and New England just went for it. How many times did Phillip Rivers try to do his best Brett Favre impersonation back when Favre was winning playoff games? They'd do that little rollout, start running to the line, throw that little dink pass, and throw it right to a New England player who could knock it down because they couldn't pick it off. He got lucky there for the most part. But the bottom line was, I saw, Glenn, bad decision after bad decision by Phillip Rivers. You can excuse him because he's inexperienced. Schottenheimer's not calling the plays on offense. He's not calling the plays on defense. He did a great job with his coaches putting together a good game plan. But what I do think hurt him and hurt this team, and this is all about Marty Schottenheimer, by the way, and it did hurt them. I heard a great analysis of this game after it was over by John Riggins this past week, who came out and said, I don't believe it was Schottenheimer's fault, the game itself. He goes, but because of what's happened to him over his career in the playoffs, when they prepared for this game, they had about as much confidence on the field as a person walking by a cemetery whistling at midnight. And I thought that was a great analysis because that's what happened. It was the Schottenheimer, what do you want to call it, the cloud that was over their head. When they took the field, they didn't have that confidence. But as far as the game itself, I really don't think that Schottenheimer blew it. The red flag that he threw on the field for a replay was a mistake, but I don't think he blew it.
Riggins, for all the shots he took ahead, running the football, he's pretty sharp still, isn't he? But I agree with Scott in this game. I think that if you want to look at overall picture for this guy, for Schottenheimer, okay, you want to say he can't win the big game, then you want to let him go, but don't necessarily blame him for this contest. This isn't the first time that a football team was ahead of the New England Patriots a team with the best quarterback and the best coach in all of pro football and found a way to lose the game late. It happened. It wasn't Schottenheimer's fault as far as I'm concerned, and I think San Diego makes a huge mistake if they let this guy go. That's my opinion.
I totally agree. I don't think he should be let go. I think he's just a bad beat, Marty, and it's just when it comes up in the playoffs, their preparation time, maybe he needs a psychologist before he goes into the playoffs, because his record in regular season is really remarkable. He's actually a pretty good coach.
Marv Levy lost a few big games.
Oh,
They never ripped him.
In the aftermath,
Bud Grant
by the
lost
way.
a few big games. They never ripped him.
The guy who's really come under fire in the aftermath, and really has irritated a lot of fans, is LaDainian Tomlinson, who by all accounts is a class guy.
Yeah, he is.
Who really made a mistake here. He's basically not repenting for the comments that were made in the heat of the moment on Sunday after the game, because he got really upset with the Patriots dancing on their logo, doing the Sean Merriman dance. Well, if you don't like it, LaDainian, basically what the fans have been telling him, because he won the Just Shut Up award on ESPN this week, and that's a fan-based quote. What the fans are saying is, don't lose the football game. And at the same time, they're saying, you know what, your guy dances all the time after he makes a big play, Merriman. And if it's okay for him to do it, it's okay for the
He got
Patriots
caught
to do
up.
it too.
I mean, I still like what Ditka says. Or was it Ditka or Lombardi?
I heard Ditka last night supporting Tomlinson.
Oh, I like Tomlinson.
I like Tomlinson too, but I think he's wrong in this case.
But Ditka said he thought he was right in this case because he didn't feel like the Patriots are the kind of team, and you don't expect it from the Patriots. They are a classy organization, and they've never shown this kind of personality
before.
before.
It wasn't the whole team.
But that's.
I mean, how's that translate to Belichick?
Here was a guy that had a fabulous season, best player in the NFL. They expect to go to the Super Bowl. They're leading by 8 with 6 minutes to go. That was a very emotional loss for these guys, and that's going to take a long time for that team, in that city, to get over it. When that happened, he's emotional. When people act emotionally, we all make mistakes. We all say things we don't really mean. And the problem is when you do it in front of a camera with 90 million people watching you, you really can't take it back very easily.
He did it again the next day.
Well,
he had time to digest things, and he just...
You know what, though, what I was getting to was the old Ditka Lombardi thing. Show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser. All right, I'm sorry. This guy, LaDainian Tomlinson's a class act.
He could play on my team
anytime he wants.
Absolutely.
And he can come with that attitude of, I hate to lose, and everybody else is a bum who beats me. I don't mind that at all, because he's a competitor, and he's great.
Well, and that's true enough. It's certainly not the worst thing I saw all weekend. I think it all ties into. I don't like the dance Sean Merriman does. It's contrived. I'm so, and I think a lot of fans are with me on this. I am so sick of these preconceived celebrations that have to take place on every play. Guys who are celebrating for no particular reason. Deion Branch caught a pass, a second and 10. He caught an 8-yard pass. Didn't even make a first down in the Seattle-Chicago game, and he's doing a celebratory dance on the field. Enough.
You should see me when I win a game by half a point.
It's disgusting. These guys care more about themselves than their team. It's all about looking good. But that's on the Madden video game. It just sucks. The whole thing stinks.
It's a reflection of our society.
I know it is.
It's not really in sports. It's not really in football. It's not really in any particular sport. It's a reflection of our society. We have a me, I society. We're not a team. We're not a family. And that's why we have a lot of problems in our society. These guys are out there. They're losing by 30 points. They catch a pass and they do this. I mean, what the hell are you doing? Your team is losing, but you caught a pass.
Don't blame the players. What the NFL needs to step in, the league itself, and say enough of this stuff.
It goes beyond the NFL.
It does,
because it goes into our society. We have a problem when we're catering to people for whatever reasons, politically correct reasons that we have. It starts in society and it filters down into sports. It's really not the other way around. There's a lot more people that don't play sports than do.
But here's the league thing, Jim. I mean, don't throw a flag when a team gets a game-winning touchdown with 5 seconds to go and they're jumping around celebrating.
No, that's
when they throw the flag.
That.
Throw the flag on the guy who's down by 30 who makes his first sack of the season 8 games into the season.
I think
and he's dancing around like Gastineau. That's where you want to throw the flag.
You know what the best way to cure it is? And it'll never happen, of course. But it's if these guys who do this crap all the time on the field were in their everyday lives to walk into similar situations. For instance, if they went to 7-Eleven and the guy gave them the right change, and the other guy behind the counter said, "Yeah, man, let it go. All right." Maybe then they'd realize just how stupid they are.
Sounds like a Peyton
Isn't
Manning
that the
commercial.
Peyton Manning commercials that they
That's
do?
really
Exactly. He does exactly what they're doing. It's kind of a
I
spoof
hate
off of it.
shameless plugs. I won my game of the year with Indianapolis this past weekend.
Oh, that's not a shameless plug?
Oh,
Where did that come from? I just asked him how his game did. I never heard, so that's why I brought it up.
But I wanted to go back to that game for a second with Baltimore and Indy, because as we handicap, and we're all done with our handicapping now for the conference championships, how fortunate, and I'm a Tony Dungy fan, but how fortunate was this team and their defense to face two idiotic offensive game plans 2 weeks in a row to get to this situation, to get to the championship. You look at it, the reason we took Indy, and the reason I wanted to bring that up, Jim, not just because we won, did I say that again? But anyway, the reason I wanted to bring it up is that Baltimore was the same as Kansas City. Nobody to go deep as far as a wide receiver is concerned. So let's run the ball first and second down and get to a 3rd and 8 situation every time.
Play action. Huh?
It's like,
Well, you expected a
was
little.
Jim Fossil calling the plays again?
You expected the first game because they were up against a Kansas City team that had a quarterback who had returned mid-season. She came in back in green for Heward. Never, ever got back on his game. I think over about an 8-game, I think he had one good contest. The coach said, I'm not going to switch right now. I can understand him using green. You had to think maybe he should have substituted. Last week, though, McNair finished with a very good second half. The team was scoring more points. They were moving the ball more, yet he mysteriously lost everything. Ed Reed had a great game for Baltimore. The whole defense played well.
Right.
He picked off Manning 2 different times, once in the first half, once in the second half. What happened just a couple of plays later? Interceptions by McNair.
Ed
both
Reed
times.
had 4 interceptions that game.
That's right.
Because Ray Lewis, he obviously didn't know that Reed was behind him.
Exactly right.
Ray Lewis broke up 2 interceptions.
And speaking of a bad offense, I can recall 4 or 5 times, and it probably happened more because I didn't see every single play of that game. I don't know how many times on 3rd down, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11, whatever, McNair, again, this is a veteran, a guy that's been around a long time. He'd throw the ball. If it was 3rd and 7, he'd throw the ball 5 yards, and they'd get stopped short of the first down. Time after time throughout the game, this Indianapolis Colts defense, who was playing better, but they were the benefactor of some really strange decisions.
How big a difference has Bob Sanders made in that team?
Well,
There's so much more physical now in the defensive backfield with him.
We're going to find out now that they're going to face an offense. They can actually
they're going to see a lot of
well-coached
screen passes
offense.
in this game.
A pet peeve for me over the years has been, and I don't want you to get off subject, but you mentioned it, and then you mentioned it as well. When a player gets hurt and another player comes in and plays really well, and then the other player gets better again, and he automatically gets his job back. Well, if I recall, there's been a lot of cases in baseball where somebody's gotten hurt. And, there's a famous player, is it Lou Gehrig?
Wally Pipp should have got his job back, and that Gehrig guy should never have taken it.
Look how about Brady and
Brady Bledsoe.
And Bledsoe. If they didn't make that change, where would we be today? So you get Kansas City with Green and Ewert. Ewert was 11 touchdown passes, 1 interception, and they bench him to bring this guy in who really I think is way past his prime, in my opinion, Green, and he basically brings the team down from where they were when Ewert was in the game. This happens over and over and over again, and I don't quite understand it because as a coach, as a manager of a business, I'm thinking to myself, my loyalty needs to be to my team winning, my owners, my fans, my city, and not necessarily to that one player. Now, granted, you want to have loyalty to your players, but if the guy isn't legitimately as good as the guy that replaced him, what the hell are you doing with him in the game? You have less chance to win, and your job is to win. And also, it might affect your own job because, God only knows, the coach, that particular coach we're talking about, is not Herm Edwards. Right. He doesn't have the greatest record in the world. He's not considered one of the best coaches in the world. And here he is, goes into the game. He has a terrible game plan. Off tackle right, off tackle left, drop back pass, get blitzed.
I loved it.
It's and then of course Billick. he saw that and he said, I really like that game plan. I'm going to do the same thing.
He wanted to get his punter some work.
Yeah. I don't want to keep going on, but what do you think about this player exchange thing when you put the bad player, the team that's the player back in that isn't as good?
I want the best guy out there.
Yeah.
I understand if it's spring training in baseball and somebody gets hurt or something like that. But by and large, you got to go with the guy who's playing well. And in my opinion, I mean, I'm sure each circumstance is different. But the one in Kansas City that we're talking about, I think we're unanimous in this panel. Mm-hmm. And it's not a second guess. It's like, why is Trent Green going back in this? Oh, Hewitt's done. Has played great since they put him in.
Yeah, I think he was like 5 or 6 and 1.
He was playing his best football of the year. He's got a tremendous.
And the thing is, if he does falter, if he's having if he
that's
looks
it. Then you can bring
bad out there,
you can
bring in
back
Green.
Yeah.
At that point,
it's not that difficult a decision. But let's move on to another game. Go ahead.
Before we go, let me ask you, since we're talking about head coaches, one thing that we haven't mentioned the last couple of weeks, and I didn't realize that there are 7, starting this season, there were 7 African American head coaches in the NFL. I think the first one was Art Shell. Of course, he got his second chance around and didn't work real well at Oakland the first time, nor did it this time. But anyhow, Shell came in, I think, in 1989, the first black coach. We've got a chance here, or they have a chance now. Lovie Smith and Dungy have a chance to be the first African American coach to get into the Super Bowl. Matter of fact, it's conceivable. I mean, when you look at the talent in these two teams, there's a chance you could see both of them in there. So it would be that would be quite a.
I'm not going to say who I'm rooting for as far as.
Oh, I think we know who you're rooting for, as everyone is.
What's that? Who am I rooting for?
Oh, I'm sorry. As far as the two coaches? Oh, I thought you were going to say.
No. I'm just saying,
okay.
I'm not going to say who I'm rooting for from a bettors or a handicapping angle.
No.
But if I was a fan, if I'm just a fan, boy, I'd love to see Tony Dungy get in there.
Oh, he's a good guy.
He's not only a good guy. For the most part, he's a fantastic offensive coach.
There's a lot of people that would like to see Manning get there, too, because they've said he's one of the best quarterbacks ever, and the guy has never really gotten to over that hill. I mean, there's a lot of milestones, and then of course you got the Saints, which has now become America's team, and what an unbelievable
story. What were they last year? 3-13.
Yeah, now they're in the championship game.
Oh, yeah. Sean Payton's amazing. To me, if I'm an owner out there and I'm looking for a coach, I'm going the same route that New Orleans did. And I've been saying this for this long
young,
time.
aggressive, offensive-minded
and
coach.
Go out and hire yourself a defensive coordinator to call the defensive plays and keep your mind out of their business and just coach that offense like Sean Payton does. If he was still the offensive coordinator for Dallas, they'd be playing right now in all likelihood. At least they would have played in the second round.
If I owned a team, I'd stay away from college coaches that didn't have a lot of NFL experience behind them. I do not see these college coaches transitioning to going from managing kids 18 to 22 years old to managing prima donna athletes with $10 million a week coming into their pockets. You can't manage them the same way unless you've been in the NFL and you know how to deal with them, because they're a different personality when they go from 22 and broke to 23 and billionaires. I mean, they're different people. Believe me.
You go from college, you have total control.
Yeah.
You run everything. There's more responsibility from that standpoint. I mean, you basically, you've got every job there is. But that's, I think, the part of the makeup of the college football coach. In the NFL, you have to be a caretaker more than anything else.
Sure.
You cannot.
Before we leave the subject to Sean Payton, I want to say something. We talked about what a great offensive mind he is. I mean, Scott, you mentioned that the last couple of weeks. He also has made some great decisions that didn't involve the football game itself. And he made the biggest one last year when he decided to go after Drew Brees at San Diego. A lot of people said he was crazy. Brees had damaged goods, the shoulder problem and everything. He said right then and there, and apparently it was a long time before he got Brees to agree to come there. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you want to be able to play, but Brees was pretty comfortable in San Diego. What a great place to play, a good football team, to go to a squad that, did you just confirm, 3-13 the next season? That was the biggest off-season decision of anybody.
And he made a great decision, though, that we found out. A bad decision. What the heck was he doing going after Reggie Bush in the draft?
I don't know.
Didn't he learn from what Houston did?
Yeah, I mean, Houston was so smart making that move, passing him up.
I was going to say, I mean, the other good decision he made was to let Houston draft Mario Williams.
That's going to
Williams had a pretty good second half. He did get better. But I guess he didn't quite have the season.
Mario Williams is going to be a decent. NFL
That's
player,
the best
and that's all he's going
And
to be.
some of
He's
it's
a
not his
terrible
fault is the
pick.
fact that he was taken ahead
Oh,
of
that's
Reggie
gonna
Bush.
go down in history.
He wasn't even the defensive rookie of the year on his own team.
Exactly.
DeMeco
Don't
Ryans
feel
was.
sorry for him. He's got himself.
But he's
a
no
big
David
paycheck.
Beckham.
No.
You see that
definitely
paycheck?
not.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, man.
Sorry, Posh, but you know what? Beckham's living in Hollywood now. You're probably out. But make sure you get a chunk of that $200 million.
I'll tell you what, if that's a community property state,
She ain't hurt.
Let's move on to the, we've been talking about the Saints, so let's move on to the Philadelphia Saint game, which was a very interesting game to watch. I mean, great stories there. You have Garcia coming off the bench, replacing McNabb when he got hurt, and figuring that Philadelphia Eagles are done for the year. He comes in and what is he, 5-1, 5-2, 6-2, something like that. Tremendous year. He played well in that game as well, and then it goes down right to the gun, and Drew Brees and company win it.
You know what surprised me about that? I mean, I did have New Orleans in that game and lost that side, but I was really surprised in how Philadelphia and Garcia was so amazing. He went from taking on like the dregs of the league for about 4 or 5 straight games as far as pass defenses are concerned. 28th best defense, 25th best, and so on, to taking on the 3rd best defense as far as total passing yards allowed per game, and shredded that defense.
You get confident that's what can happen.
And he was tough, and he doesn't have the greatest receiving core,
But
he got it done.
does have the most underrated running back in the NFL.
well, yeah, he's
Westbrook,
awesome.
who, of course, over the last few years has had some injuries, which has kind of kept him below the radar. But usually a guy like that plays in a market like Philadelphia on the East Coast, you would think you'd get more from him. I mean, that was the perfect game to watch him. I mean, he's had better games, but once again, I mean, he makes big play after big play.
Biggest play in the game, though, was as far as the point spread's concerned, was actually a mistake by Reggie Bush. Saints were up 3, and they were almost certainly going to be in field goal range for John Conn, who's missed 2 field goals all year. And I think Reggie took his eye off a lateral, and it kind of just bounced off the hands and recovered by the Eagles, and managed to
very fortunate.
And how about the pass? How about on that series when they got the ball? Philly throws a pass over the middle. The guy catches it, runs down to about the 30, and what they get was an illegal motion or something like that, or early movement on the offensive line. And
well, that offensive player that replaced the guy that got hurt was offensive tackle.
Yeah.
And he had several motion penalties and illegal procedure penalties. And that really hurt Philadelphia. They probably don't have that injury. They probably win that game.
Sure.
But they did win the game if you're looking at the Las Vegas way to keep it. Again,
that game ended by streak.
I'm very happy to say.
You noticed that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did.
But if you're a money line player,
that pitch really had me upset because I want to win a game, but then I want to win it fairly, and I mean it was a mistake that shouldn't have been made by Bush. So
you gave the ticket back and said that all my money, right?
Well, I know primetime clients didn't anyway.
The money line bettors gave their ticket back.
Oh,
That game ended by. I had New Orleans in the game.
Worst thing about it was I was at a housewarming party, and when that pitch happened, I had New Orleans. When the pitch happened, I had to buy a new TV for the people that were at the house. That was their housewarming gift.
So it cost you a little extra.
But I said, pitch happens, So.
It happens.
Very nicely done.
Life's a pitch.
Did you throw something at the TV?
No.
Oh,
Just my wife.
Well, being from Nebraska, I mean, I'm kind of surprised because of course, growing up, he played some high school football in Nebraska, and I know he never threw like this. It was always pitches, so I didn't feel he could break a television.
You have a chance of hurting your elbow when you do this.
One other game, the good Rex showed up in Chicago, and it's a good thing he did because boy, what has happened to that team's defense? They can't stop the run at all. I guess Tommy Harris' injuries turned out to be enormous. Mike Brown too.
Yeah, I mean two Pro Bowl kind of players, and it's since the first 8 games of the year that gave up 12 points a game, and now they're giving up 24 points a game. I mean, it's totally a different ball.
Oh, and
with the exception of that Philadelphia game, most of the contests were really dominated by the defense, and most of the quarterbacks. So you had some pretty good quarterbacks. Those 8 guys that played this weekend.
Well, if you look
most of them didn't do it. Do you know what? Breeze. We might as well because
Breeze was the best quarterback.
He
last
was
weekend.
the only quarterback to have. Of course, that's because it was so low to the regular. But he was the only guy to exceed his regular season quarterback rating in that Saturday or Sunday game that everybody else
Rex,
did.
if you look at the quarterback performances last weekend, Breeze had the best.
Well, he was actually, as far
Breeze,
as the rating was concerned,
well,
he was third.
you know what, the quarterback rating,
Well, I understand.
I don't care about the quarterback rating. It means nothing to me. It's a contrived formula, and it's kind of ridiculous. But In terms of,
Well, I think actually yards per points. I think those are ridiculous. I think the quarterback rating
I want to
is
know how
pretty
Dave
solid.
really
the
feels.
point is, the point is that if you look at the way they played last weekend, Brees was the best of the 8 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And the second best last weekend was Rex Grossman. For all the criticism that's been heaped on him, and a lot of it rightfully so, he didn't make many mistakes in last weekend's game. He made some great throws. I mean, that throw in overtime was absolutely a championship caliber throw.
Nobody questions this kid's talent. They question the decision making he sometimes makes.
He gets a little too brave sometimes.
And
he's gonna learn.
I mean,
You'd think he was like a 14-year veteran. I mean, the guy has only played in the
That's
NFL
right.
2 real seasons.
Very young.
If people forget
well, I
that.
mean, last year he didn't play the whole season because he was a backup. He did play in the championship game, but he was on the bench hurt, so he didn't have that much experience. But their defense really collapsed. Seattle had their best offensive show of the whole year.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what Chicago has been doing. They've been allowing the other team to really get off on him offensively.
Look, Hasselbeck was terrible.
Yeah.
And if Hasselbeck had not been terrible, the Bears wouldn't be playing today.
Yeah, that's true. Last game, which was quite interesting, and this is the Marty Bowl. San Diego, like I said, was one of the favorites to be there, and they take on the New England Patriots, who have been there many times and very successful. I think they're now 12-1 in playoff games under Belichick and Brady. It's a tough record. But Marty now is 5-13 in bowl games, or not bowl games, but well, maybe it's the Marty Bowl games. Yeah, but in playoff games, and there has to be a reason that this guy is that jinxed in games. I mean, it's got to be something that reflects back on him. It's probably in the preparation, maybe of getting his team relaxed. Perhaps it starts before they ever get on the field. Yes, he does make mistakes, but every coach makes mistakes. Maybe they come out too tight.
I think it is the confidence factor. Like I was saying earlier when we started the show, I think Reagan's hit it on the head. Even though it wasn't overly conservative game plan this week, even though they had a good game plan to start the game this week, they still have it in the back of their minds that under Marty Schottenheimer, you lose playoff games. and like you said, he goes the confidence factor. I mean, if you had a scale of 1 to 100 going into that game on New England's players thinking they could win a game and San Diego's players,
and
100 for New England and maybe 50 for San Diego.
That's the luck factor. Because of all the teams for them to face, it's the one that doesn't think they're ever going to lose.
Exactly.
When it counts, it's New England. I mean, New England's got the best.
It's the worst possible matchup.
Sure. Well, look at this. I mean, LaDainian Tomlinson, he has a huge game, right? San Diego out first downs the Patriots. They outgain the Patriots, and the defense forces Tom Brady into 3 interceptions. I guess it's time for New England to take out the golf clubs and go home, right?
Yep.
I guess not. That's just
They find a
typical.
way.
They find a way. Another game-winning drive. I think the 6th in playoffs for Brady. When it counts, he just goes down the field and makes every play he has to make.
To me, there was that one sequence, and you knew right there the game was going to get away from San Diego. Where you had the headbutt. I mean, what is that guy thinking about? Exactly. And then the episode with the interception on 4th down, which never should have been an interception. And then the guy clearly fumbles the ball. And then they throw the red flag.
Right.
And it's like, and I got San Diego in the game, by the way. I happened to take the Chargers, which was really kind of a dumb play on my part. But I thought,
You were up 8 with 6
Well,
minutes.
they were
to
up
go.
8. You were looking pretty good.
I thought, you know what? I all the respect in the world for New England. But I'm looking at this team going, they're not the best team here. San Diego's a considerably better football team. I knew at that point, I'm dead. I'm dead. They're going to lose this game.
You know what?
And they did.
A lot of people talked about, you got to knock that ball down on 4th down instead of picking it off. It's right, but in the heat of the moment, you don't have that time to think. You just make the move. So let's give them the benefit of that. But
I don't know.
But hold on, I'm not done yet.
That was Schottenheimer's fault.
I don't know, but
Caught
you know
it,
what?
and then he fumbled.
There was a
I
media
don't
person
agree with
the
that.
day after the game who said that was Schottenheimer's fault. I swear to God, he said it was Schottenheimer's fault for not having his player prepared for that situation.
That I don't blame Schottenheimer.
But here, let me finish this.
But I do disagree with the heat of the moment thing because.
Have you played the game at that level?
No.
I haven't.
No, I haven't, and that's the point.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
No, wait a minute, Scott. That brings about the point. I obviously have never played the game at that level, and yet I know from from Sandlot football.
Oh, absolutely not.
Absolutely
You catch
not.
the football.
In
99% of the players catch the football, Dave.
No, I'm sorry. If you're a pro football, I
You're totally
Okay,
wrong.
well, we're going to agree to disagree.
I never played football. I'm not going to tell anybody how to play.
No, I'm not telling him how to play, but on the heat of the moment when the ball's right in your numbers, you don't think, hey, it's fourth down. You guys should knock the ball down.
Absolutely. Let me make a point.
What you do, and this is what I want to do.
At least catch it and make sure you protect it.
No, that's what I was going to say. You might give him the benefit of the doubt on that. Here's what you do. When you pick it off, you go down to your knees.
Okay,
That's what you do.
Another heat of the moment. So wait a minute. Now hold on. Let me get this logic. It's all heat of the moment that you catch the ball when you're not supposed to catch the ball, but then you're supposed to have the presence of mind. Oh, I got to drop it.
But if you don't catch the ball, somebody else can catch it. Once you catch it,
it's the same situation.
Oh, totally different.
Can I make a point here? All right, shut up for a second. When the ball's thrown in the end zone, when the ball's thrown in the end zone,
I reserve the right to let him.
Yes, you can. Go. Dave's got the table.
Yes.
When the ball's thrown in please, when the ball's thrown in the end zone at the end of the game, do they try and catch the ball on defense? They know. No,
It's not the same thing.
if you don't know what the down in situation is, you can't tell me there's a pro football player in the National Football League who doesn't know the down and distance.
And that
if it's
situation-
4th down and 8 yards to go, and you have to know what to do in those
How
situations.
many times have you seen a guy
That's
pick
the
off the
difference
ball?
between a
Hold on
National
a second.
Football League player and a kid.
How many times have you seen a guy pick off the ball in a key situation with the game going out in the end zone? Happens all the time. Pick the ball off and then go down to his knee in the end zone. That happens almost on a weekly basis in the NFL or college football. That's what should have been done. You pick up the ball because you can't just knock the ball away, because if you tip it, another guy might catch it. Exactly. What you got to do is catch it and go down on your knee like they do every week.
I've seen a lot of 4th down plays where the guys knew enough to just bat. If it's thrown down the field, they just bat the ball on the ground.
Well, they're going to agree to disagree here. I can see
We're putting
that.
on the gloves.
Next week, I'm wearing the zebra outfit because I'm going to be the
The
referee.
bottom line, by the way, is that, all right, regardless of which way you feel about that, what the hell is he throwing the red flag for? Now, is that from the booth? I'm assuming somebody in the booth.
That was clearly
must
a
have
fumble.
mistake. Yeah.
There's no way that was going to be overturned. You can't throw the red flag there and blow a time out. That was
That
stupid.
particular play right there by Marty, throwing the red flag, may have cost them a possibility of overtime. That's possible.
Well, we can hug and make up and kiss on that
Since
because we agree on that completely.
Since we get back on the Marty issue, let's talk about some of the coaching situations around the league, because we're not going to really be around for NFL any very much longer because there's only one more week.
I know,
But-
it's 3 more games.
That's right. So that's over.
I know.
But-
You love it, doesn't it?
It means I got
Especially the run you've been on.
It means they got another year older.
Well, the alternative sucks, so
Yeah, I
let's
know.
try for that.
That's the line of the day.
Wisenhunt goes to Arizona. What do you think about that move down there? I kind of like Wisenhut's addition.
I like it too. I was kind of thinking that he should have stayed where he was if they should have gone after him. But
You know what? They got so much talent down there. If they can put an offensive line on the field,
exactly.
go out and spend the money properly this offseason. Don't spend it on a running back. Nothing wrong with Andrew James, but you got to have an offensive line.
Runners don't run by themselves.
That's right.
And you've got a
If
quarterback
your
in
coach
line
is
who's
not
had a
what
year
you
now.
want, you want to go to a team that's underperformed compared to the talent
With
that's
talent,
available.
yeah.
I mean, not that you want to make it easy on yourself, but anybody that goes down there, if they do a good job, they could turn that into a pretty good football team.
I think
fairly
so.
quickly.
Yeah.
And he had no guarantee he was going to get hired where he was either. I mean, so he took the guaranteed money, guaranteed job, chance to rebuild a young team. Pretty good place to live down in
Tough act to-
Arizona.
it's a tough
not
act to
a bad
follow in
spot.
Pittsburgh, too.
I think
What's that?
It's a tough act to follow in
Oh, yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Oh, it is. It is. You're
What's the
following a
old
legend.
saying? You want to be the guy who replaces the guy who replaced the guy? You don't want to be the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
replacing Cowher is going to be a tough task.
Interesting. Pittsburgh's needs a coach. Oakland needs a coach.
They need a pro
Okay,
football team.
Oakland needs a team, an owner, a manager, a city. I mean, everything. They have issues. I mean, the fans are loyal. They do come out. I've been there. They are loyal. I mean, even as bad as this team is, they come out and support them. Miami needs a coach now that I won't take that Alabama job has gone. What do you think about Miami?
The guy who was in for a second interview is where taping this, Mike Shula. How ironic would that be if Mike Shula, in effect, were traded for Nick Saban with the Alabama-Miami thing. You know, he's got a very powerful guy in his corner, Mike Shula, Don Shula. And if Marino happens to get on board with that, I don't know what his feelings on it are, but if Marino, who's still very involved with this franchise, gets on board, I think Shula may end up with that job.
What is Marino's involvement there?
I think he's like a consultant of some kind. I don't know what his title is, but he's got
Well,
something
if
to do with it.
if his decisions on the team are as good as they were when he was on the field, he'll make sure that Shula kid just doesn't get the job. I think that's a joke. So it'll be interesting to see.
He was an assistant, so he does have NFL.
Well, but here's the thing.
experience.
I'm not. Maybe I can't rule this out because I haven't seen him be a head coach of the pros. Maybe Mike Shula is one of those guys who's the opposite of a lot of the college coaches who haven't made the transition well. Maybe he's a guy who's been around pro football his whole life, basically. And maybe he's better suited for the NFL.
Maybe you're right, because I think
know.
I think
He
of him
was
as
an
a college
assistant
coach.
coach,
Yeah, so it is an entirely different game, isn't it? One that I can't understand.
You know,
anybody wanting to leave college
a
football.
funny twist. A few years ago, an up-in-age guy named Dick Vermeil came back.
One of the
How
few.
old is Don Shula?
78, I think.
That's a little too old.
Well,
Maybe
I don't
Paterno.
know. Paterno had a
He's
pretty good year.
103.
I mean, we're running out of coaching material here. I mean, everybody's getting fired. You're all looking for new coaches
I
that
think you
can
go be
win,
assistant.
and you can't. You keep juggling these coaches that never win and put them somewhere else. It's you need to boost these young
Does
assistants.
Sean
That's
Payton
what I
have
like.
a brother
The
or
best
cousin
the best
or
hire
anything?
obviously was Payton down in
I
New
think
Orleans.
that Oakland. I think they'll go for Steve Sarkisian.
Doesn't really matter who goes there though.
You know what?
As long as Al Davis is running the show.
Well, here's the thing. You're never that far away from being a contender in the NFL.
Yeah, a couple free agent moves.
Well,
and-
if you look at Oakland, they had one of the better defenses in the league
Yeah,
this
they
year.
did.
What they didn't have, and what they did have actually, was the single worst offensive line I've ever seen in the National Football League. I mean, poor Andrew Walter, this guy, he was getting sacked before he even had the ball snapped to him.
Yeah, he actually might be a decent quarterback if you gave him half a second to throw the ball.
If they all had the heart of a Randy Moss and the desire.
Does this team not, and this is the tough part if you're an Oakland fan, you got burned drafting Robert Gallery as high as you did a couple of years ago. It hasn't worked out. But you gotta go for the left tackle, the kid out of Wisconsin, Joe Thomas. I mean, just because you made a mistake in a position one time doesn't mean you stay away from it. I don't think any of the quarterbacks that are coming out, well, I guess Colt Brennan is coming out now, and I really like Colt Brennan a lot. But I don't think any of them are surefire #1 overall draft choices, the QBs. And nobody is a sure thing, but boy, you got to get that offensive line going. You got the first pick. It probably wouldn't be popular with their fans, but I think Joe Thomas is the guy, if they keep the pick, that I would take.
I love that because I believe that, first of all, you got a right-handed quarterback. You better have a great left tackle. And as you mentioned, that was a huge miss on Gallery. You can't even blame the Raiders there. Gallery looked, I thought he was going to be
great.
going to be the real deal. I agree. But Joe Thomas, if he comes in there, that's going to make this team, that's a huge difference maker right off the bat. I do like one quarterback coming out, and I haven't heard too many people talking about this, but if you watch his delivery and his pocket presence, obviously he can run the ball a lot better. But Troy Smith out of Ohio State reminds me so much of Drew Brees. And you don't hear that analysis a whole lot. But watch him when he throws the ball or check out some old TiVo tapes or
About
whatever
the
you
same
got.
size, too.
Yeah, about the same size. He really does remind me of Drew Brees.
How much does his stock go down in that Florida game?
He's going to have a chance to repair that quickly when it comes to the tryouts and the combines and things like that because it was just the one game. And, you know, when you watch that, talk about a coach with a weird game plan throughout the game. It was Tressel, obviously.
Played
in
the
that
Senior
one.
Bowl, too, isn't he?
I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a chance for him to get it back, but
Sure.
he did lose some.
Oh, sure.
He lost some points in that game. We're going to come back and talk about an NBA game, the Chicago Bulls and the Utah Jazz.
When we return, Saturday's NBA action between the Utah Jazz and the Chicago Bulls.
Before we get to the Jazz at Chicago in the NBA, Glenn McGrew last week had a huge play on USC, and he comes back with a big play on the New England Patriots. Now this week, you have another big playoff game of the year coming up, Glenn.
I do, and of course another one. There's been a lot of really good college basketball games this season. Some really thrillers. USC UCLA was a perfect example last Saturday. The Bruins trailed the whole game, came back and actually won the contest. But of course we got the money with USC. But it was just a remarkable game. Matter of fact, watch this Trojan team. This is a squad I really believe could end up in the Final 8. That's how good they are. It's been a phenomenal year, big win after big win, but that's what it is all about at primetime sports. I've been telling you that for 6-7 years right here on the show. Big plays mean big winners. Last Saturday, as Jim mentioned, I hit my insider play. That's the biggest release I have on USC over UCLA. Then on Sunday, came back for the second Sunday in a row, swept the board in the NFL. A big playbook call on New England over San Diego. Yes, the Chargers outplayed them, but it's nice to have Tom Brady on your side when you've got a wager going. Now, this week, it's my guaranteed playoff game of the year. It comes with a great guarantee. It's going to cap off a sensational football season, college and pros. Plus, you're going to get 2 full weeks of my $50 chalkboard releases in both pro and college basketball. It's all available right now on my $20 power play line. Call me first thing Saturday morning. My $20 power play line for my guaranteed playoff game of the year, plus 2 full weeks of $50 chalkboard releases in pro and college basketball. The number is 1-900-226-0410. And now to the NBA. The Utah Jazz going to make a little trip to Chicago, right?
You know, that trip to Chicago is troublesome because Chicago, I mean, Utah has been a surprise team this year, but this is their 4th game in 6 nights, and Chicago has been remarkable at home. Their record on the road is the opposite of what they do at home, and at home they've been absolutely devastating. How does Utah stand up in 4th game in 6 nights?
That's the tough part when you go into Chicago. Earlier this week, we had a big play on the Bulls over the Memphis Grizzlies, and Tony Barone obviously has decided to let his guys go. Rolls the ball in the court and says score, outscore the opposition. But when you go into Chicago, you're going to face a team that knows how to play some D. That's why they won by 45, 111-66. That's the problem for Utah. And there's that unwritten rule in the league they got to get rid of. Stern's got to do something about Utah not defending guards. I mean, are they not allowed to? I mean, what have they had? Like 3 or 4 players now, opposing players have scored 50 or more points in a game against the Utah Jazz. That's going to kill this team, I really think, in this particular game because Chicago has a couple of really nice guards, and when they're playing at home, they're one of the best teams in the league. So I got to back the Bulls here. I just think it's a tough spot for Utah.
Definitely one of the best teams in the league at home. Matter of fact, they had a game. They've been without their center, Wallace, and they've had a couple of guys step up. That just shows the depth on the Chicago team. San Antonio came in. They played a great game against the Spurs, a squad that has the best road record in the NBA, but not on that night. The Bulls handled them pretty well. 5 guys in double digits. They out-rebounded San Antonio, which is impressive because Wallace is sitting on the bench. You said 4th and 6 nights. This is the 3rd in 4 evenings for this traveler, too. And I just think this is a rested Bulls team. They just play too much defense. I think it's a bad spot for the visitor.
But, you know what's, I mean, as good a season as it's been for Utah, they've fallen off a little bit lately. They're not playing at quite the same level. But if you'd have told me before the season started they were going to accomplish this with really Kurylenko being extremely limited in his production, I said, no way. Jerry Sloan's doing a great job, and Carlos Boozer has turned out to be a very underrated player.
Sure.
I mean, I have to tell you, when Boozer went through whatever he went through with that Cleveland thing, which whether he reneged on a deal or didn't, I was thinking to myself, Utah'd be better off if he just stayed there in Cleveland. I mean, they're paying him way too much money. That's a bad call on my part because Boozer's become an absolute all-pro guy. I mean, he's the heart and soul of this Utah squad.
If he was in a major market, this guy would be getting so much attention.
Tremendous. Absolutely tremendously well he's played. A little worried about the number here because, obviously Chicago's exploits at home are starting to get factored into the number, and Utah's not playing as well lately, but I can't go against the Bulls at home either.
Well, that's one of the things they don't have Stockton and Malone anymore, right?
No,
I mean, they
sure don't.
I'm keeping up with the times, obviously.
Pete Maravich is gone, too.
He's gone? It's hard to keep up with all these changes, even if they happen over 30 years. It's still hard. But when talking seriously, when the odds maker, the bookmaker, looks at a game like this and they see this road record and they see this 4th game in 6 nights and 3rd and 4 nights and the Chicago home record, I mean, they start making adjustments to the number. So if you have the first part of the year, a team is 15-4 at home as a favorite. Well, by the end of the year, they come back to even because they put so much weight on them. Being the favorite, they start taking that 8-point favorite and make it 12, and then all of a sudden you start not covering. At what point, as a handicapper, what point do you look and you make your own number and see if you have value? Is that how you do it?
That's the way I got to do it. And Dave's right. I mean, you're kind of nervous about this number because public perception is being factored into it. Nobody's going to play. No regular Joe is going to walk into a sports book in Nevada and pluck their money down on the Utah Jazz. So they're going to make.
Well, a regular Joe might, but a guy that knows these stats may not.
I think also, and a good point also is like college basketball this season, and talking about numbers being inflated. The marquee teams in college basketball, I think more than ever, it's always been kind of inflated on these teams, but the favorites in marquee matchups are unbelievable as far as the line adjustments that are being made. 2 to 3
a lot
points
of that was
higher than probably a lot of these teams should be favored.
You think a lot of
and
that
that's what I do. Just to answer his question real quick.
And what's the results of those games?
Well, they're losing. They're losing by a point
They
or
are
2
now.
points.
But I think a lot of that had to do, those adjustments came because the first 3 weeks, holy mackerel, it was like every big favorite in
Yeah, you're
college
right.
basketball
Yeah.
was killing their opponent.
They're winning 35-point games. They're winning.
And you know, when Big Chalk is covered, you know, there's people out there who don't really follow things very closely, and they're going to be cashing a lot of tickets.
Well,
and I think that's had an adjustment on the numbers, and now it's caught up. And the numbers are about where they should be now. You're starting to see a pretty good balance.
This is why, though, getting back to your question, you have got to learn how to make your own numbers. Power numbers, and not base it on what happened in the most previous game, the most recent game. In the recent game. But anyway, you've got to get really good at making your own numbers.
That's how they talk in Nebraska.
You want to give the folks? Let's give the folks a little tip on how they can do that. A lot of people don't know how to make their own number. That's where I think you go to our Fast Facts at the website. We got 4 sets of numbers right there for you. You go to you're at the website anyway, obviously, right now. So go to college basketball. In college basketball, there'll be a little drop-down menu. Shows up, go to Fast Facts. When you're in the Fast Facts page, you can either click on matchup or prediction. Click on the prediction. And when you go to that page, you're going to see literally 4 different sets of power ratings. Jot these down and see which ones are doing well. There's one, this is one of your old babies, goes back many years, fast power rating, where it's based on your last 8 games. A lot of things you can do with this, and you only get, it's a very good gauge because you're not just talking about the most recent 1 or 2 games for a team. You're talking about a good recent stretch of basketball where you can get a really good indication. Then you got a season-long power rating as well. So, you know, if you're not sure of how to make your own numbers, we'll be happy to provide this for you. And there isn't any charge. You don't have to register for anything. You just go to the page every day and get those numbers and use them.
Actually, it goes a little bit beyond that, too, because what you have there on the right side, you'll see, I'm not sure what it says, all games and then conference. There's a little button you push on the right side of that. But we break it down. I'm not sure what that says on the right side of the page right now, because on the right side there's 2 buttons. One is automatically comes up, and if you press the conference, the conference button, you just get the conference games and the ratings for those games only, excluding the teams that they played back in November and December when they were out of conference. And that's a huge difference because conference games is like a second season for these teams, and the coaches play differently. They're more conservative. You've got a whole different set of numbers there. And after they start playing conference games, you want to throw out that stuff that happened back in November and December because they're really meaningless when Michigan's playing Michigan State and Illinois is playing Iowa. When they were, in the beginning they were playing Rabbit State and stuff like that. Those things don't matter. So you gotta have to go Rabbit State, Gopher State.
They're pretty good this year, yeah.
All these, you didn't know that?
You know what? And that's a good point to make, because what I tell people when I do the radio shows around the country and somebody will call in and say, how do you make your own power ratings, or what's the best way to figure out how to wager on a game in college? And I say, listen, if you don't have the time, if you've got, like most people, your 40-hour per week or more job, obviously you need to limit yourself probably to 1 conference if you're serious about betting. Right. And what you do is you take the best team in the conference, the worst team in the conference. You figure how much of a difference are these two on a neutral court. Let's say you give 100 as your best, 80 is your lowest. Well, let's say your top team in your conference you figure is a 97. The worst team in your conference you figure is 15 to 17 points worse than that top team on a neutral site. And then you fill in between with all the teams in between, and you make your adjustments accordingly. You throw out all the junk, like you just mentioned, against Jackrabbit State or whatever you said there. and then you just focus on a certain conference. But that's the best way to make your power ratings. Figure out the best. It's tough to do in college basketball overall because there's 336 teams you can wager on. So you do it by conference, and it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. It's college basketball is hard to keep up with for most people. That's why we do it on the website, and we do a lot of it for you. So you should really, as Dave and Scott said, you should really check out the Fast Facts. All our statistics are there, and it's all free. You're there on the website now, so just click over there when we're done and check it out. We're going to come right back with Indiana and Connecticut.
Coming up next, it's the Big Ten taking on the Big East as Indiana travels to UConn.
You know, I have to read these stats to you. Dave Koken has been red hot. And when you read this stuff, and I just read it, it's unbelievable how hot this guy has been. 13-0 run in football, 8-0 in NBA, and 10-1-1 in college hoops. I mean, this is amazing stuff. Red hot. I'm telling you, it's really warm over here because I'm really close to him. Dave, good job.
Well, the 13-0 run is over now in the NFL because it ended with the Saints. So time to start a new one. But the other two, the 8-0 NBA run is current, and that 10-1-1 in college basketball is on my action plays. And you can get long term. You can get some great packages on the website right now. You can get those action plays for a long period of time and at a very low cost. Or you can take advantage of this package, which is going to involve those and some other good stuff. And it costs $25, which is a pretty minimal investment. You're going to get both of the NFL games this weekend. You're going to get all three of my Saturday action plays in college basketball. You're also going to get the rest of January's action plays, college basketball, and the NBA. That's going to be included. The whole thing is $25. You can get it at the website right now at my Solid Gold Club, or you can make a phone call to 1-900-835-9898. It's been good. I mean, it's been real good. It usually gets better for me as the season goes along in basketball. I'm moving into what is generally my strongest time of year, so I'm real enthused about keeping these profits rolling in, and hopefully you'll take advantage. 1-900-835-9898, or go to my Solid Gold Club right there at the website and take advantage.
Good offer. You know, Indiana, the Hoosiers, they have a very balanced club. They get a lot of contribution from a lot of players, so you can't really focus on one guy. Kelvin Sampson moves over from Oklahoma, and he's been a winner just about everywhere he's been, and they're playing real good right now. Now they're going to take on a very young Husky team who, you know, under Calhoun, I mean, they're not that impressive at this point in the season, at least to me. I mean, I like this Indiana Hoosier team the way they're developing.
They're experienced. Kelvin Sampson walked into a nice deal, by the way. He's a very good coach. I don't want to say, I'm not trying to underrate him at all. Very good coach at Washington State and at Oklahoma. But the smart thing that he's done is he hasn't tried to change too much of what these guys know how to do. And they fit into his game plan pretty well. So he's getting a very experienced team that he's walked into. They're also lightning quick. Have you watched Indiana? This is not a plodding basketball team. They're going to go up against a UConn team, as Jim just mentioned, that's incredibly young. They're so hit and miss. I'm kind of like Heehaw right now because I think the line's really solid where it is right now. Yeah. I lean towards Indiana, but I don't like jumping on conference teams that all of a sudden go on the road against a good squad outside of the conference in the middle of conference season. As far as UConn is concerned, this is a team that would love to win games 80-70. They're not doing that this year. They're scoring a lot of games in the 60s.
Their offense is not good.
Their offense isn't good. They're not hitting the threes, and Indiana defends the threes for the most part pretty well. So I'm going to say that I'll lean towards the road dog here, but I'm going to stay away from the game.
I like the under in the game.
Yeah, I can see that definitely.
The one thing we're seeing out of Indiana is they are really bringing it on defense every game. Not a surprise considering who their coach is. Kelvin Sampson's teams at Oklahoma was sometimes a little bit tough to watch offensively. I mean, but defensively, that's 40 minutes of effort every game. And Connecticut is ugly offensively right now. I mean, they just don't have a flow out there. A very choppy. The youth, sure, they're just not used to playing together. But they're making the effort defensively, and I think they can create some problems with their size for Indiana in this game as far as the Hoosiers getting open looks. I think this is going to be a game that's, very possibly in the 110 to 120 range. It could be a real gnarly, grindy type of game that's not pretty to watch aesthetically, but if you've got the under, it may get you a winner.
I tell you, Jim Calhoun, you don't want to get us wrong here because I know what Dave and Scott said. This team isn't real good right now, but they're so incredibly young. Talent-wise, these guys are good. I don't know by the end of this season, but in the next couple of years, he's going to have no problem winning a lot of basketball games with this squad. The problem is when they're young, what's the first thing that happens? You have a lot of turnovers. They average 2 turnovers per game more than they do assists. They had a game against Pittsburgh, against the Pitt Panthers early this week, and actually the offense played a little bit better than I expected, especially against Pittsburgh, who plays as good a defense in the Big East as anyone. I like I feel the same way as Scott. I really like the underdog in this game. If it was a conference contest, if these two were in the same league, I'd be all over Indiana for a big play. But as Scott mentioned, boy, when you're right in the middle now, or at least a third of the way into your season, like Indiana is in the Big Ten, you have to go back east and play a Big East squad. Sometimes you wonder if you're going to put your best foot forward. It's really a difficult call because of that.
And I know it's not college football, but it hasn't exactly been all roses in college basketball yet for the Big Ten. They're struggling. I don't think this conference is overrated and everything. I think really. We see Michigan State has had some terrible games out of conference. Illinois.
There's only two really good teams in the Big Ten.
I mean, Ohio State. I agree that Odin was. Well, I don't think he was even there in that game. I don't remember now, but they got murdered in Florida.
They're overrated, no doubt.
The conference is not that good.
You know, Michigan State and Illinois, we knew they were going to be down this year.
This far down?
Well, not this far
not
down.
Illinois.
Especially
Illinois going into Minnesota
Yeah.
on Wednesday night. I think they had 11 straight losses to the spread.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's true. You know, you talk about Odin, though. I mean, Ohio State. I wonder what you guys' opinion. I've been asked about this on a couple of shows. What do you feel about Thad Matta? I mean, I don't know right now that he's really doing a really good job of coaching this team because they still look like they're on separate pages out there at times. 2 or 3 guys doing their own thing. Greg Oden's good, but this kid needs a second year of college experience before he moves on to the pros, for one thing. But I'm not sure this is.
Well, he's pretty young. He's only 33, I think. At least that's what he looks.
He looks like he's about 65.
But a real young. They're a really young basketball team too. So I don't know if you can draw any conclusions off how they played and whether or not the head coach.
The media always gets on top of these big conferences, and they make them out to be much stronger than they really are, and they forget about these other teams, and especially from lesser conferences that actually can put it together. This is a tough scheduling spot for Indiana. I mean, they have, like you said, have to go on the road in the middle of conference season, and what they're focused on mainly is their conference games. So it is a tough spot, and usually your home court advantage in games like this is much more than it would be if it were a conference game. So it does lean towards the home side in this spot. We're going to come back. Oklahoma State. This is a conference game in the Big 12. Oklahoma State coming off a triple overtime win over Texas goes against Texas A&M. Right back.
Next up, it's 2 of the top teams in the Big 12 as Oklahoma State takes on Texas A&M.
Scott Spreitzer has been absolutely red hot as well over the last couple of weeks. He had a wild card game of the year winner, and he follows that up with the divisional game of the year winner with the Colts and the college hoops odds maker game of the year winner as well. Now he comes back with an exceptional package for just $8.
That's right, Jim. We've had a very nice run. Last week we were talking on the show about a 16-4, 80% run. We've also had a 9-1, 90% run earlier this week in college basketball. As Jim just mentioned, we hit our odds maker game of the year on Saturday. We had Maryland over Clemson. They were laying 3. We said in our write-up that we felt that in this particular situation, that Maryland was 8 points better than Clemson. With about 3 seconds to go, it was an 8-point game. Clemson makes that meaningless 3. We still get the win and cover. That's the only thing that brought it off of 8. So we've been doing a really solid job of finding out where faulty public perception is factored way too much into the line. As far as pro football in the playoffs, there have been 16 side and total opportunities. We've had 15. We're 10-5, 67% against the spread. We swept our totals last week in pro football going 4-0. Been a very nice run. We hit the wild card game of the year with Indianapolis. We hit our divisional round game of the year, not stuttering again with Indianapolis. And this week we've got a fantastic package. It's a 3-play package, all for just $8. I'm going to give you the number in just a moment, so keep the pen handy. What we've got going in this package is my pro football conference championship game of the year, total of the year, and a conference game of the year in college basketball. All 3 plays are only $8, and all you got to do is call 1-800-521-1872, 800-521-1872. And now we go back to the part of the country that happens to be close to my heart, and that would be the Big 12, A&M and Oklahoma State doing battle.
It looks like a pretty good basketball game. I mean, you got Oklahoma State, who's playing rather short rotation. They've had some defections, player defections, and injuries, and they're coming off that triple overtime win over Texas, which is a big, big game for them. And now they're going to go to a red-hot Texas A&M club, and this looks like a pretty good matchup.
This Gillespie is a great coach. He is. Believe me, and that's not my opinion. I've got that from some pretty good sources. Let's just say who know their college basketball. I'm talking about legends in the game. who will tell you that this guy is a terrific basketball coach. What he's done with this program is amazing. And Texas A&M college basketball, the team is nothing forever. And I got to tell you, they could make a deep run at the tournament this year, depending on who they match up against. Superb defensive basketball team. AC Law has got a little bit of an enigma because he just vanishes at times. But when he's on his game, they're pretty good at that end of the court, too, offensively. I think that they're a little too deep for Oklahoma State and tough defensively. And really, I mean, Oklahoma State's got enough time to gather themselves off this thriller that they had with Texas on Tuesday night. But it's still tough to go on the road in a situation like this. And I would have to favor A&M here. I just think I think they can do enough defensively to shut down that main guy at Oklahoma State, and we'll let the rest take care of itself. That said, it's no cinch. I mean, the Cowboys, pretty good basketball game, and they got humiliated at Kansas. So if they want to make sure that doesn't happen again, but still, the last time they played on the road wasn't real good, and I'd have to fade them here.
That Cowboy guy you're talking about, Mario Bogans, I tell you, 6'7", he's a senior. Boy, does he bring leadership. That basketball game earlier this week between Oklahoma State and Texas, one of the best college basketball games I've seen in 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Just phenomenal. 3 overtime game. There were so many lead changes, so many big shots. Bogans, 37 points and 20 rebounds. And Durant, Kevin Durant? Yeah. I mean, maybe the best freshman in the country. If he isn't, boy, you got to show me a guy who's better. This guy, 6'9", he's also a forward. Texas, you fans enjoy him because I'm afraid he's not going to be. He is gone. Yeah, I mean, he isn't gone, but he's going to be gone at the end of this year. He had 37 points too. He only had 12 rebounds. So obviously, it was just.
Obviously, needs at least a year or two more in college before he goes to the pros.
But it was like those two guys took turns in regulation in the first, second, and third overtimes. There must have been 7, 8, 9 times each one of them made incredible shots. Durant, of course, a big man with handles the ball well. Made 3 or 4 big 3-point shots way behind the line. It was a phenomenal game. I just got to wonder, after 3-4 days, even 3-4 days off, I just wonder how much that Oklahoma State might leave behind after that contest. And they better be ready to play just as strong because, as you mentioned, A&M, they're going to be facing a better defensive team than Texas was. So it's going to be very difficult for Bogans to have that kind of a game. The big thing with these two teams, I always watch out. Neither one of them are really, neither one have a whole lot of depth. But fortunately, when they're playing each other, that doesn't become a factor. And it almost cost them in that triple overtime, the Cowboys, because they've lost a couple of people, one to a suspension, one guy left the team, and they pretty much played 6 men in that contest, and just the same 5 guys all the way through the 3 overtimes. So
they are playing skinny rotation, and the triple overtime is not only physically draining, but emotionally draining as well. And now going to Texas A&M, where, I mean, that's a red-hot basketball team as well. It's going to be a tough spot for Oklahoma State to bounce back physically and emotionally.
Yeah, I mean, A&M's perfect at home. I think 14-0. The 2 losses, UCLA and LSU, both on the road. Games that they could have won. UCLA certainly could have won. LSU, they had a horrible first half, AC, as you mentioned.
And they were back-to-back games, if I remember. They played LSU.
They were in the same week. I know.
I think it was like a midweek and then a Saturday situation.
You're right.
I like Texas A&M in this spot too, basically because of the scheduling thing coming off that big game. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the ACC championship game between the New England Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts. 2 guys, 2 coaches that have seen each other, 2 quarterbacks that have seen each other a lot over the years. We're going to be right back.
In a moment, it's the New England Patriots at the Indianapolis Colts. But first, we'll hear from world champion handicapper Jim Feist, who has the entire weekend available completely free of charge, including his playoff game of the year.
Nobody really knows this, but the ACC did acquire the Patriots and the Colts to be in their football conference next year. I said ACC game. It's really the AFC game, championship game between the Pats and the Colts.
Great. There goes my notes.
I know I had everybody in the country confused, but now that we've straightened that out, this weekend I have a big offer. Get ready for the Sunday football with a free personal service offer. Here's what you get. Executive service winners, Inner Circle blowout of the month, and a monster platinum release worth $500. Just make this free call, toll free as well. 1-877-JIM-FEIST. That's 1-877-546-5600. 3347. Build your bankroll up on Saturday for my playoff game of the year on Sunday. All free, absolutely free. In January, my big plays, my platinum releases have been hitting at a 63% clip. My inner circle blowout on Saturday is it's two games, totally mismatched teams, big winners in this game, in those two games. 1-877 Jim Feist. That's 1-877-546-3347. Build up your bankroll on Saturday, and then get on that big game in the NFL on Sunday as well. Now we're going to go to the AFC/ACC game between the Pats and the Colts. I mean,
The winner gets Wake Forest.
winner gets Wake Forest, exactly. And then that could be dominant teams in the ACC. I mean, there's no question about it.
Finally, enough talk about the SEC being the best football conference. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Last week, what has happened? There's been a metamorphosis. That's a big word for me. But with the Colts defense, who is absolutely terrible, pretty much all year, especially against the run. But was it because they played Kansas City, who had no offensive game plan, a mediocre quarterback, a coach that really didn't have anything going for himself, and then they do the same thing against the Ravens, who came out with the same game plan because I think they consulted, how can we not win this game? And they went out and did it.
The Kansas City Chiefs had a perfect game plan if they were playing somebody from the ACC. So there you go. No, when I looked at this, part of the reason I was on Indy against Kansas City was the game plan of the Kansas City Chiefs offense. We talked about it back then. We talked about it last week when they took on Baltimore. 2 weeks in a row, they took on teams that don't stretch the opponent's defense because they don't have consistent enough receivers to get behind defensive backs and create long-distance matchup problems. They just don't do it enough. Clayton for Baltimore sometimes does it, but not on a consistent game-by-game basis. So we had similar offenses that they were taking on. So that was part of it. Another part of it is, we were talking about this before the show, Bob Sanders. Just an incredible re-addition, if you will, to that backfield. I mean, because of him, the other guy, the other corner, I'm forgetting his name right now, can move to his natural corner position, makes him more, Marlon Jackson, the other corner, makes him more physical in the defensive backfield against these receivers. They can bump them at the line of scrimmage and get away with it. And also with Sanders being back in there allows a safety to come up and cheat up against the run, which makes a huge difference. And Glenn pointed out on last week's show when we were recapping the first game, the wild card game against KC, all of a sudden, with the confidence of having this defensive backfield as good as they're playing, the defensive tackles are making huge plays at the line of scrimmage, not just fighting off the initial blockers so the linebackers can come up and make stops. They're making stops at the point of attack themselves. So New England's got ways, and Dave's probably going to talk about it, of how to beat this. It's just a matter of if they do it on the field.
I think that what you're going to see is that Indianapolis is really confident now defensively, and they're going to continue to be aggressive. Now, I think what you're going to see out of the Patriots, because they love to run this anyway, it's one of the Belichick staples, you're going to see screens. All kinds of screens. They're going to use the screen pass as their running game, so to speak. And I think Maroney is going to he's going to be a big key in this game for New England offensively. I got to tell you, I'll give you a play in this game. I'm keeping aside from my special offer, but I am going to play the game over. I think the Patriots are going to have. This is still not a good defense. They played two horrendous offensive teams and got through it. They are still not a good defensive football team. New England's no bargain defensively themselves, especially with Harrison out of the defensive secondary. And I got to tell you something. Peyton Manning, this guy's not having 3 bad games in a row. And I think you're going to see the Patriots burn Indianapolis at the same time. This is going to go back to being just what you'd expect before the playoffs have started, to see if the Colts and Patriots get together, which is a shootout. There's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the best games you'll see all year with around 60 points scored.
Something if Vinatieri wins the game for the
the
ex-New England kicker.
Yeah.
This is your Super Bowl in many regards. An absolutely classic matchup between two big-time rivals, and I do like this game over.
Two football teams that would be heavily favored over either one of the NFC.
Almost a touchdown.
Yeah, that's right. And you mentioned Manning. You wonder how he could have 3 bad games. He's got 1 touchdown pass, 5 interceptions in the 2 playoff games. Just horrible numbers, and yet they've won both contests. And you mentioned the Colts bring a lot of pressure from the outside, and that's just what that's what defeats that, is a lot of screens. I was really impressed last week. Matt Light, the left tackle, who got hurt last season, and it really affected the Patriots an awful lot.
Yes.
He did a phenomenal job last week against Sean Merriman. I mean, I really expected Merriman to have a big game, and he was limited pretty much. Light did a great job there, so that's going to help here. Last time I looked, too, the two teams that the Colts played so far in the playoffs, neither one of them play a 3-4, and that's been the problem for Manning in this offense for years now. Other teams that play it also have given them some trouble. So I agree with you, Dave. This has to be, not has to be, but it almost feels like this is the Super Bowl almost because of these two squads and how good they are.
Well, I think the Saints and the Bears would probably
of course
have an argument with that and say, just
Argue
mail
want.
it in. We won't. Whoever gets there is just going to mail it in. We're going to lose this game. I look for a good football game. I think it's going to be a classic old matchup between two teams that have been matching up for years and very competitive. Of course, the Colts have won the last two, which
regular season games.
Regular season games, yes. Yeah, and
Marty games.
Marty games. Yeah, don't talk to Marty about playoffs.
Well, we've got two seasons in the NFL, the Marty season and a Belichick season.
We're going to be right back. We'll have a best bet for you.
Coming up next are Proline Best Bets, the biggest selection from today's show.
For my best bet, it's the Chicago Bulls at home over the visiting Utah Jazz. And I'll tell you, the last two Sundays I've swept the NFL playoff board, a perfect 4-0 with my sides, and I'm going to do it again this weekend. And one of those two games, it's my playoff game of the year. It's available right now on my $20 power play line. But that's not all you're going to get. You call, you're also going to get a full 2 weeks of my $50 chalkboard plays, both in pro and college basketball. A lot of action, just $20, 1-900-226-0410.
All right, best bet's going to be the Patriots-Colts game to go over the total. I've got a strong opinion on the side of that game as well as the NFC title game. And you're going to get both those sides. You're going to get all three of my Saturday college basketball action plays, and those have been on a 10-1-1 run. And you're going to get free action plays for the rest of January, college and pro basketball, all for $25. It's a dynamite offer, and I've been on fire. So make sure and make the call, 1-900-835-9898, or check out my Solid Gold Club right here at the website.
My best bet is the Chicago Bulls over the Utah Jazz. And, folks, hey, games of the year in pro football have been automatic at Smash Mouth Sports. We hit our overall game of the year, a 33-point win. We go into the playoffs. We hit our wild card game of the year. We hit our divisional round game of the year. Last week, we also hit our odds maker game of the year in college basketball. I've got 3 games of the year going right now for $8. You will get my conference championship game of the year in pro football. You'll get a conference game of the year in college basketball, plus a total of the year. All available right now for $8. 1-800-521-1872.
Well, my best bet of the week is going to be Texas A&M over Oklahoma State, coming off that big triple overtime win over Texas. Texas A&M is my best bet. Your best bet is to make this phone call. It's absolutely free, so absolutely, why wouldn't you make the phone call? 1-877-JIM-FEIST. That's 1-877-546-3347. Here's what you get. My executive service winners on Saturday, my Inner Circle blowout of the month, and a monster platinum release, and you're going to get my playoff game of the year. This is a monster winner. Playoff game of the year. I mean, it means what it says. 1-877-JIM-FEIST. Make the call. It's absolutely free. We're going to come back next week with a lot more action. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl, a lot more basketball, NBA, and NCAA. So you have a great week, a winning week, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching us this week, and be sure to catch Proline on the web next weekend, available Friday nights for more great insight.